Okay, good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, no handouts, but we start talking about contemporary halachos, but how can we not talk about today, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz? How can we not talk about the 3 weeks? Because that is about as contemporary as it gets. We have to know how to act during this next little while. And so a lot of this, I imagine, is going to be straight up review of things that we know, but it's probably good to refresh. And of course, if there are questions that come up, feel free to pipe up, ask me questions, just make sure that we're covering all of our bases. Okay, so let's jump in. The 3 weeks of mourning, which commemorates the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, they begin now, or last night, really, in many respects. Many of those halachas started already last night. It's an interesting thing to think about. You know, the Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, which is the fast day that is today, it commemorates a number of things, but probably the most significant is the fact that the walls of Yerushalayim were breached on this day. Okay, so on the 17th of Tammuz, the walls of Yerushalayim were breached, and then 3 weeks later, on Tisha B'Av, that's when the Beis Hamikdash is burnt. And when you think about that, you know, I imagine we've all been to Yerushalayim. We all know where the walls of Yerushalayim are. The walls that we were looking at in Yerushalayim are walls that were built about 500 years ago. They're not the ancient walls. These walls were built by the Ottomans, but that's more or less where the ancient walls were. How long does it take you to walk from those walls to the Beis Hamikdash? 5 minutes? 10 minutes if you stop for like a shawarma on the way, right? It's not a very long walk. And yet, it took 3 weeks of fighting for the Romans to be able to get from those breached walls all the way to the Beis Hamikdash. You think about the battles that took place there. You think about the bloodshed that took place. Think about the self-sacrifice of the soldiers to prevent the Romans from getting that far. It's just a mind-boggling thought when you think about what that looked like. You know, that type of defense. And if you read Josephus, it's really a horrific and just such a tragic story of the amount of bloodshed that took place. You know, I'm not going to go into detail over here, but it's really, really, really horrific when you think about how they had to defend the city to the point that it took them 3 weeks to go from those gates, from those walls, all the way to the Beis Hamikdash. It's really, really a terrible time. So every day during these next 3 weeks, we are reflecting upon the loss of the Beis Hamikdash and really the self-sacrifice of the Jews during that time, as well as historically, we know that so many other tragedies happened during this time, whether it's the expulsion from Spain, whether it's the Nazis who committed many specific decrees or different things that happened specifically during this time of year. So obviously it's a time where we reflect on all the terrible things that happened since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, with that in mind, the Gemara tells us that a person who mourns the destruction of Yerushalayim properly will merit to see it rebuilt. So obviously you only appreciate something when you appreciate its loss, right? So when you think about, you spend time during this time of year to think about what does a missing Beis Hamikdash mean, then that puts you in a better place to appreciate what a rebuilt Beis Hamikdash actually is. So it's important that we not only engage in the different practices, but also we think about what exactly a destroyed Beis Hamikdash is. But with that in mind, we're going to go through some of the practices that are practiced during the time. So one of them is that we do not say, or we try to avoid saying, a Shechianu bracha during the 3 weeks. Now, a Shechianu bracha is a bracha that nowadays, and we discussed this a little bit together a few weeks ago, is something a little bit rare, because a Shechianu is said on something which is a truly significant purchase. Okay, something very significant. Nowadays, we live in a time of abundance, and therefore many things which are not seen so significant. You know, they're not things that we buy regularly, or even fruit. You know, it's very rare. It's very hard to find a Shechianu fruit, right? It's not only, right, people make a mistake when it comes to fruit. They say, if I only ate this fruit once a year, then I make a Shechianu. That's incorrect. If that would be the case, then as a teenager, I'd probably say Shechianu on like an apple, because I didn't eat any fruit. So if I had an apple once a year, I'd say Shechianu. That's wrong. A Shechianu is said when it's a fruit that is not available most of the year. And nowadays, virtually every fruit that you like is available all the time. That's why, 7 Mile and Market Maven, they go ahead and they buy these really bizarre, exotic fruits that you normally don't care for during the rest of the year, because because then it's by definition something which you cannot find the rest of the year. So star fruits you're not going to find in a regular supermarket during the year, or whatever other interesting fruit they have. Okay, you could say a shechianu on that. But your typical fruit that you're going to buy in a store that's available, it's available now, it's available later. You wouldn't say a shechianu on that. Okay, so it can't be objectively awful. But as long as it's even if you don't. Who? Okay, I don't even.
Objectively, people hate it, but that people say shechianu.
Okay, it has to truly be objectively
It is.
Okay. I don't even know what you're referring to. Okay, but okay, but does it can't be something which is like like. It's hard to define, but it has to be. Yes, it has to be some pleasure. But as long as it's something which is, there are people who, again, if it's objectively this is bad, like spoiled cheese is bad, right? So again, not that you'd say shechianu on cheese, but that's like objectively bad. If it's something which is objectively bad, you shouldn't say shechianu. Some people like it, and it is seen as like a delicacy or something which people enjoy in some circles, it'd be hard to say that that's something which is not shechianu worthy. Yes.
If you started the process in purchasing a new car.
Okay, purchasing a car. Let's talk about a car. Okay, so so a car is one of the things that we do say shechianu. As spoiled as we are, I imagine most of us are not buying cars regularly. Fair assumption, and if you are, we should talk. Shlosh could use a new endowment. Okay, but the point is that the bottom line is we're not buying cars regularly. A car is something you typically would say shechianu, although it's worth noting, depends on your family setup. Sometimes you say shechianu, but when you get something which is beneficial not only for you but for others as well, you actually say a different bracha. The bracha you say is hatov v'hametiv. Okay, so another discussion for another time, but it's worth noting if you get a new car, if you live alone, you would say shechianu. If you live with others and this car is going to be used, it's not just your car; it's a car that's used for children or with the spouse, whatever it is. Then you would say hatov v'hametiv. Fine, but with a car. So if it's a car that you need, in other words, which is virtually every case, again. For those of us not buying cars to sit in our 15-car garage, so you need it. Your car is broken, your old car is breaking down, whatever it is, then you'd be allowed to buy a car during the 3 weeks. And that would be totally fine. If it's something you're getting as quote-unquote extra, like it's just for leisure purposes, just for pleasure purposes, you wouldn't be allowed to do, which again, not so typical. So your typical car, it's a necessary item. So yes, it is something, and if you do get it, then you would say shechianu or hatov v'hametiv when you buy that car. In other words, you try to avoid the situation. But if you have a situation where you need to get a new car, then you buy the car, and you would say the appropriate bracha during that time. Mazel tov. Absolutely. So anything that's we'll get there.
Do I say a bracha?
Oh no, you don't say a shechianu. You should be a bracha for shechianu in Baltimore for getting an air conditioning system, but no, there's no bracha. No bracha. Okay, fine. So typically shechianu, like a new coat, like I don't mean like a rain jacket, like an expensive coat, something which is like unique, something which is expensive. That is something unique that you're not buying all the time, which is very valuable. That's something you would typically say shechianu. You should avoid buying that if you don't need something during this time. Okay.
75% off sale at Hess Host.
70. Well, again, that's not a car, that's a piece of clothing. So we're going to get to clothing in a second. Okay, so let's talk about, before we get there, let's talk about cutting hair. So cutting hair during the 3 weeks is forbidden. I always find it ironic that everyone walks into the 3 weeks looking like fresh and beautiful. It's like we're going into this period of mourning and everyone looks all shaved. I don't know, I find it funny. Okay, anyway, the bottom line is that waxing, eyebrow care, all that is permitted. Setting a sheitel is permitted. It is just getting a haircut that is not allowed during this time. Sorry? Cutting your pet's fur. That's a good question. I don't know. Cutting your pet's fur.
But wouldn't that be considered for the comfort and well-being of the animal?
Yeah.
It's like maintenance for the animal.
Yeah, I don't know enough about. So let me look into that. That's meaning again, if it's something which like it needs for again like a human to get a haircut, like okay, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't look so great, it's purely aesthetic. If there's a matter of discomfort, then it certainly would be allowed. Is that what it is? Not aesthetic. It's like that the hair is just uncomfortable.
Mats and stuff, but it's definitely not an enjoyable experience for him or me.
Yeah. So if it's something which is done not for aesthetic purposes, then it should be allowed for an animal as well. Okay, that's the first. Okay, fine. So let's talk about music. Fine. Again, setting a sheitel, waxing, eyebrows, eyebrow care, all that is permitted. Listening to music during the 3 weeks. So lively music is certainly forbidden according to everyone. That is the original prohibition. Most understand that it includes all music, even if it's not lively. So even if it's slow, classical music, heartfelt music, that is going to be included. And most understand that this is true whether it's live or it is recorded. It is going to be included. Okay, so those are the general categories. There is a big debate about a cappella music, especially as a cappella music gets more and more sophisticated. And oftentimes I'll find myself stopping and saying, is this a cappella? Or is this a recording? Is this some music? Is instruments? Because they're using, the different techniques to make things sound like it's an actual instrument. So that is a matter of discussion. There certainly is what to rely upon. If a certain person needs music to listen to, feels very strongly about the need to have music, then certainly listening to a cappella would be not the end of the world. Similarly, if a person needs music to listen to on a long drive, person drives for a long time, and the way they stay awake is with music. A person needs music to help them concentrate. A person, certainly if a person is depressed, even a lowercase d, and they need music to keep them in a decent spirit, or for exercising, they need to have rhythm. All those cases, listening to music is allowed. It's listening to music purely for pleasure that's problematic, but any type of music that's being listened to for an alternative reason, for something else, then it's going to be permitted. Okay, good. Any questions? What was the question? About shopping. Okay, so there is no prohibition against shopping for items which are not Shechianu oriented during the 3 weeks. Okay, meaning the only thing you can't be buying are things which are of a significant nature, right? So if there's a sale at Hats to Hose or whatever you said, that's 100% fine. There's no prohibition whatsoever. You don't need it to be a sale. You could just buy it because you can wear it. There's no problem wearing new clothing. What would be the problem? Meaning, as long as it's not Shechianu worthy clothing, you're buying yourself a new shirt, a new skirt, a new pair of pants, whatever it is. Okay, so again, a Shabbos dress. I'm not sure. Again, it's a little. I struggle. It's hard. I would, again, if it's a very expensive Shabbos dress, then there's something very unique, then probably you'd say Shechianu. But if it's something which is not, or depends on like your spending habits, I wouldn't say Shechianu. But even then, let's just say it's something you would say Shechianu on. There are many opinions who say that you could say a Shechianu on Shabbos. And therefore, if it is a Shabbos dress, or a Yom Tov dress, whatever, Shabbos dress, and you'd be wearing it the first time on Shabbos, then that would be fine. Just say the Shechianu when you wear it the first time on Shabbos.
Is that different than Sphira?
Why is that?
I'm asking.
Oh, no, 3 weeks is actually always going to be more stringent than Sphira.
Because I thought we don't do shopping for clothes during the 3 weeks.
No, the 9 days. We're going to get to the 9 days. Again, during the 3 weeks, let's just review. 3 weeks, you don't buy expensive, special things. If you were to buy a skirt, or dress that is going to be Shechianu worthy, then I would avoid it during the 3 weeks. But any other typical piece of clothing, any regular thing you're wearing during the week, whatever it is, no problem whatsoever buying. If it's something which is Shechianu worthy, you would be, and it's on a sale, let's say, then you would be allowed to buy it, not only during the 3 weeks, even during the 9 days, okay? And in terms of wearing it the first time, there's what's relied upon to wear it the first time on Shabbos and say the Shechianu on Shabbos. Make sense?
You don't say Shechianu in jewelry. So theoretically, you could go buy an expensive piece of jewelry. Not that I do.
Correct. You could. Correct. Okay, let's talk about today for a second. Shavas B'Tammuz. Okay, so the number of different things. Again, the main thing is the wall is breached. But the other, so that we fast on this day. If you are ill in any way, you should not be fasting. If you have like a shaila, like, oh, I'm feeling really ill today, or I've been very sick all week, and therefore I feel terrible right now. Should I be breaking the fast? The answer is you should be breaking the fast. It is a minor fast, and therefore the threshold for breaking the fast is much lower. In general, there is a debate about taking pills without water on a fast day. I'm not talking about someone who needs it for medication, discussion for a different time, but let's say a person has a headache today, right? So you want to take a Tylenol, and you could swallow Tylenol without any water. Can you do so? Many opinions say you are allowed to do so as long as it's without water, and that's what I would recommend. If you have a headache, before you break a fast, pop a Tylenol, pop an Advil, whatever it is, see if that helps. That is going to be fine. An interesting question, this goes to Tisha B'Av. This year Tisha B'Av is on Sunday, okay? So some of us are caffeine addicts. Let's say it as it is. And therefore, it's, so normally on a regular fast, minor fast day, I'll wake up really early in the morning, have myself a coffee or two or whatever, and then go back to sleep. And that is fine. Today, the fast started at like something a little bit early. Yeah, so that wasn't going to happen. So instead, they have these amazing pills that are slow release caffeine pills. So last night I took a slow release caffeine pill. It's working. Kacha. It's kicking in. Okay, the bottom line is, so that's fine. Of course, there I took it before the fast day, no problem. Interesting question is, what about on Tisha B'Av, right? So would you be allowed, right? So on Tisha B'Av, so to take it in without water, that's fine. Taking a pill without water would be okay. The challenge is, on Tisha B'Av, normally you would take it before, for those of us who would like to have a little bit of water to swallow the pill, you would take it when? You would take it before the fast starts. But over here on Tisha B'Av, I know I'm going out of order. I'm talking Tisha B'Av for a second. Tisha B'Av is on Shabbos. We have a halacha. They are not allowed to do hachana. You're not allowed to do preparation on Shabbos for after Shabbos. Okay, right? So there's two potential issues, actually. Another potential issue is that you're not supposed to be taking medicine on Shabbos. Now, it's not medicine, and therefore that's not an issue. The question is, are you allowed to take this slow release, and they have for caffeine, they have Advil, slow release Advil, whatever it is, or are you allowed to take that on Shabbos? The answer is no, you can't. In other words, that would be something overtly being done for Shabbos, on Shabbos for the day after. Okay, and therefore the only way to take a caffeine pill on Tisha B'Av would be to take it on Tisha B'Av itself without water. Okay, so for those of you who take those caffeine pills, it's worth noting. Similarly, I should have mentioned this last week, but to go ahead and yesterday on Shabbos to say, hey, drink water because tomorrow is a fast day is actually forbidden. You could drink water because the next day is a fast day. You could say, hey, make sure to drink. It's hot outside. It's hot tomorrow. Wink, wink. That's okay. But to overtly go ahead and say, hey, let's drink water now because tomorrow's a fast day, that is also an overt way of preparing for the next day, right? Similar to like when Pesach falls out on Motzei Shabbos to say, hey, make sure to get a nap, or Shavuos, make sure to get a nap because we're going to be up late tonight. That is overtly doing it. If you say, hey, let's take a Shabbos nap, that's totally fine, right? So preparing, you can't prepare in any way on Shabbos, and even to talk about doing things, again, if you could do it in a way that's not overt, that's totally fine. So again, this Tisha B'Av, in 3 weeks from now, or less, a little bit less than 3 weeks now, you should drink a lot of water on Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, but don't say I'm drinking the water for Tisha B'Av. Yeah.
What about like the shalosh that you make before Tisha B'Av and you make it like bigger than usual because?
Okay. So again, don't say eat up because we're fasting. You say, okay, we have shalosh. Yeah. Yes.
And if you never drink Gatorade, but
it's a good question. It's funny you say that. I have someone buys my wife buys Gatorade before fast days. I didn't have any Gatorade this past Shabbos for that reason. I can't tell you it's Asar because you could drink Gatorade. I can't tell you it's Asar. I don't know. I didn't do it. I can't tell you. I can't say it's Asar. Yeah. Yes.
What if you cannot take a pill without water and you have to?
Okay, so if it's medication that you need, then you must take them. Meaning, I'm not talking about caffeine. I as much as I call myself a caffeine addict, I will survive. Like I will not, have withdrawal. But thank God. But if you have medication that is necessary to take every day, then you must take that medication. So there are different methods that it should really be taken with some liquid that is not really good tasting liquid. So there are a number of different alternatives. None of them are great. Okay, so one, and you want to check in with your doctor before you do this, but if it's a tablet, you can put the tablet in a little bit of water and let it dissolve a little bit. Now, it depends on the type of medicine you're taking. Some medicine, it needs to slow release, and therefore doing so is actually not ideal. So check in with a doctor before doing so. But some medications, it's fine if you have it a little bit in liquid form. So you put the tablet in the liquid, you let the water get a little, muddy looking, it gets a little white, and then you could drink it down with the pill. You don't have to wait till it dissolves fully. But as long as it's no longer water, it's now gross. Right now it's basically like pill tasting stuff. And then you could use it to drink it. That's probably the easiest approach. But again, please check in with the doctor before you do so, because some tablets, that's actually not healthy to do so. Alternatively, you could take like a little bit of vinegar, and I know, or like intense lemon juice, but like no sugar, no sweetener. Basically something which is not really a good tasting liquid. The tablet one is the least of the negative, bad flavors. That's probably the best way to do so. But again, check in with a doctor. Yes.
What about like if you have to take, like I always take with really cold water, can I take it with like hot water instead?
No. That wouldn't be enough.
Okay.
Sorry, because that's still water, even though you don't like it. No, you don't. But it's still considered. That would still be considered a liquid. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a drink. Okay, makes sense. Again, check with the doctor. The easiest thing, again, putting the tablet in, let it dissolve a little bit, shoot it down that way. If none of those work, feel free to speak to me. There might be some other alternatives, but those would be the ideal things to do. Okay, 2 other notes about Shabbat Tammuz, and that is brushing teeth. Okay, so there's discussion even among the early poskim about whether or not you're allowed to brush teeth on a fast day or use Listerine, scope, whatever. And so most poskim say on a minor fast day it is permitted. There is some discussion about whether or not you have to lean your head forward when you do so to prevent you from swallowing a little bit of toothpaste or a little bit of Listerine. Some poskim say you must do so. Some say that's not food. That is toothpaste. That is Listerine. That's not food, and therefore okay. Bottom line is, if you don't have a bad neck or bad back, it is ideal to lean your head forward. But if you're uncomfortable without brushed teeth or without Listerine or whatever, then it is totally permitted on a minor fast. Again, not Tisha B'Av, but on a minor fast day to do so. Everyone would agree it's totally fine. Just ideally lean your head forward so you don't swallow extra, liquid. That's the ideal thing to do. And showering. Showering is the same thing. There's some discussion. Bottom line is, on a minor fast day, if a person is uncomfortable, i.e., I don't know, you live in Baltimore and it's hot and sweaty and whatever.
And you have no air conditioning.
And you, oh my gosh, Hashem should help you. Okay, what's it called? So then, so yes, that would certainly be a reason. But bottom line is, if you are uncomfortable, then taking a shower on Shabbat Tammuz is totally fine. Obviously, Tisha B'Av, Yom Kippur, no. But on a minor fast day, taking a shower, if a person is uncomfortable, is 100% okay. All right, fine. So that's the 3 weeks. That's everything I've known about the 3 weeks. Again, it's music, it's haircuts, shachianu. That's it for the 3 weeks. Shavas B'Tammuz we spoke about. Let's start talking about the 9 days. But we're not going to finish all the discussions of the 9 days. We'll finish that next week. Sorry?
You can't go swimming?
During 3 weeks, 100%. You go swimming. Yes, 100%. Yes.
So obviously we know that Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur is its own category. Is Shavas B'Tammuz considered a minor fast as much as Tzom Gedalia and Shushan Ancestor?
Yes.
All
Yes.
the others are considered
All the same category.
3 levels. It's either
All the same. Correct. So whatever
I
minhagim.
wasn't sure what this
No,
one fits in. It
no.
seems a little more serious.
It is more serious. It is. I mean, this period of time is more serious. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's in terms of the rules of the fast day, it's the same as Asar B'Teves. It's just much longer. What's it called? But it's the same. It's the same halachos. Same halachos.
You
Okay.
can work out.
So-
Curious.
Yeah. What during the 3 weeks?
Right now, today.
If you're fasting, I wouldn't recommend it from a medical perspective, but 100%. Yeah, 100%. And if you're not fasting, let's see what other. So someone just asked me today. I'm just trying to think of other Shivas or Thomas questions came up. Someone just asked me about doing their nails today. Also permitted. Again, your nails is just like your care. It's like putting on makeup. You getting your nails done. Okay, you get your nails done. That's fine. But yeah, you can work out. Again, if you're fasting, probably a bad idea. But if you're not fasting to work out, that's totally fine.
Bad ideas.
Sorry.
I'm full of bad ideas.
There you go. So the one thing during this time is people are extra careful not to do extremely dangerous things, dangerous activities during the 9 days. That gets ramped up a little bit. But if there's something like really dangerous, you shouldn't be doing in general. But certainly if it's something which is like borderline dangerous, you shouldn't do during this time. Okay. Again, extreme things that again you probably shouldn't be doing anyways. You wouldn't do during this time. During the 9 days, we ramp that up a little bit more with very particular halachos. But over here, people are just conscientious about the fact that it's bad things have happened to the Jewish people during this time, and therefore we try to stay away from doing these types of things. Okay, good. Let's start the 9 days. Okay, so the 9 days begin on Friday evening, July 25th. And during that time, the following general categories, and we're going to go through some of them today, are forbidden. One of them are home improvements, okay? Improvements, we'll see what that is. Laundering, okay? Buying or wearing new clothing, okay? Whether it's buying or wearing, eating meat, drinking wine, and bathing for pleasure, okay? Now we're going to discuss each of these in detail now, okay? So, home improvements and gardening, okay? So, a person is not...
Getting done.
Sorry?
My house is getting done.
Okay, so let's talk about the details of this. So doing home improvements such as painting, building, adding extensions, those are things that should not be done during the 9 days, okay, during the 9 days. And you're also not allowed to hire a non-Jew to do that, meaning even if you're not the one building, you also can't hire a non-Jew to go ahead and build them. So if you did hire someone before the 9 days, then you really have to make every effort to have them stop doing it during the 9 days. Ask them, hey, can you do a different job? Oftentimes, construction workers take on like 18 jobs at the same time. And so you say, hey, could you go ahead and continue that job and leave my house? It's fine. I'll be, we'll be a little delayed, whatever it is. But if that's impossible, the person says, absolutely not. I'm not going to delay it or whatever it is. We're under contract and they're going to continue. And they started before the 9 days, then you are allowed to allow that. You are permitted to allow them to continue. Okay. However, if a person is doing building which is not for improvements, but rather necessary things. For example, your roof breaks, your air conditioning breaks, there is a hole in the house, whatever, anything that is not night being done because it's nice, you have asbestos, whatever it might be, like something which is broken, something which is ruined, and you need to fix it, that is a whole different story, and that is allowed during the 9 days. Okay, so again, anything that's broken, and then once they're fixing it, like they put in, your roof broke, so they fix your roof, and any of the paints where they open it up. Okay, so that's part of fixing something which is broken. But to go ahead and say, I want to get a paint job during this time, 9 days is not the time to do so. You should reschedule and not do it then. Okay, another thing which is permitted during the 9 days is building for a mitzvah. So building a mikvah, building a shul, those things would be permitted. Thank God. We're done. But fine. Those are all the things which are included in building construction during the 9 days. Light housework is permitted. Sweeping, mopping, vacuuming, and basic cleaning is permitted. There are no prohibitions against doing those during the 9 days. Good? Sorry? Too bad. You can do whatever you want, but it's not Asar. Okay. 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 In terms of gardening, so basic upkeep is allowed. A person's allowed to mow their lawn. They're allowed to water their plants. They're allowed to water their flowers. You are not allowed to put in new plants during this time. Again, seasonally, it's not so relevant. Most people are not doing planting new seeds or new flowers during this time of year. I think it's a terrible time to do so. You normally have to do it, a little while back. But in theory, if a person, wants to replace some, dead flowers, whatever it is, this is not the time to do so. During the 9 days, that is already seen as beautification. prohibition. So upkeep, you don't have to allow your flowers to wither and die. You don't have to allow your grass to get, overgrown. You're allowed to mow, you're allowed to water, but to go ahead and to plant something new cannot be done during this time. Good? Home improvements, planting. Any questions? Good. Okay, let's talk about laundering. Okay, so laundering during the 9 days, included in the prohibition of laundering, is ironing clothing. Sending clothes to dry cleaners is also not allowed. Even if it's only going to be ready after the 9 days, it still cannot be done. Fine. One can wash clothing of children. So again, it's all laundering. All laundering during the 9 days cannot be done. For young children, and there's some debate about what age, certainly for 6 and under, everyone is of the opinion you're allowed to wash, clean their clothing. The idea is that their clothing gets dirty after the second they put it on. Like as they're putting it on, it's like already getting their like chocolate on their face, whatever it is. So it's dirty, and that's something which is like just, okay, this is par for the course. You just allowed to wash their clothing, and there's no prohibition. There are some who say 9 years old. There's some who say even up to bar and bat mitzvah. There's what to rely upon until they get older. Ideally, you want to stop it at 6 if that's possible. If it's not possible because they are a typical kid who's getting things dirty, you are allowed to rely upon that at least until the week of Tisha B'Av, which this year is all of the 9 days. Yeah.
Picking fruit,
Picking
like
fruit.
strawberries.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Forgive me, what is the justification for not laundering? What is the thinking of the Rebbeim for not laundering?
Okay.
Because if we can vacuum our house,
Yes.
what's the problem with laundering?
What's the problem with laundering? So, good question. I should have taken a step back. Essentially, the laws during the 9 days and until lighter degree of the 3 weeks are meant to reflect and parallel the many mourning observations that a person has in the situation of loss. So, in as much as when we lose a family member, then we have certain restrictions as a way of demonstrating that we are not in a good place. We externally act in a certain way, sometimes as a reflection of where we are, sometimes as a way of kind of motivating us, bringing us to that place. So we lost the Beis HaMikdash. We lost something which is so incredibly dear to us, and therefore to do anything which is seen as, again, so in as much as when it comes to laws of mourning, certainly during Shiva, a person doesn't wear freshly laundered clothing. It's almost like, how could I bring myself to wear freshly laundered clothing? How could I feel fresh? I feel so broken. I may not feel that way when it comes to the 9 days. I may not feel that way, but the goal is to bring ourselves to that place. Rav Soloveitchik actually points out beautifully, he says that when it comes to the laws of mourning, we start with the most intense. Immediately after a person loses a loved one, until burial, that's when the laws are the most intense. And then Shiva, still very intense. And then Shloshim, less intense. And then the year, much less, but that's because it's natural. We feel it. It's something which we feel. Obviously, you feel a loss of a loved one. When it comes to the Beis HaMikdash, it's the opposite. You don't necessarily feel it, and so we have to work ourselves to it. So we have the 3 weeks, which is really, we're coming at it from a distance. We start slowly with having some laws which are meant to set the tone, and then as we get closer, we're supposed to up it until we get to Tisha B'Av. We're supposed to really be acting like an onain, like someone who has lost someone on that day, in that sense of mourning. But we have to work ourselves towards that place. So again, it's one of these situations where our external behavior is meant to kind of remind us of the way we're supposed to be feeling. Yeah.
Did anything specific happen on Rosh Chodesh Av, or it's just that it's and like what the 9 days always seem sort of arbitrary to me.
Right. So it's it's the death of Aaron, but there was some development in terms of, I believe they say they came to the Makom Hamikdash. They came to the place, like to the Har HaBayis at that point of the 9 days. That's when they come to Har HaBayis. Nothing was destroyed at that point, but that's where they are geographically, the Romans.
But otherwise, it's just because
It's the lead up to this time. Right. Yes.
So the age limit with like laundering and stuff, like, I mean, my kids are older than that, so.
Right. So so ideally, if you could afford and buy enough clothing, then they should ideally not be laundering their 9 days. If you didn't, or whatever it is, then whatever, this is what you rely upon. Kids going crazy because they need their shirt with a cherry on it. May or may not have happened at my house yesterday. So okay, so whatever, you wash the clothing.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
What about if it's clothing that you need for work?
Good question. So if it's something which you absolutely need for work and you don't have like an alternative, then there would be what to rely upon to be able to wash this. It is a long period of time, right? So in theory, ideally, if a person's able to buy, sometimes it's like scrubs or things of that nature, where like you don't have like 5 pairs of scrubs or whatever it is. There is what to rely upon to wash something of that nature.
Another thing is that what if you have a relative or something that has incontinence?
And they
have incontinence issues, so can their clothes be laundered the same way children?
Probably, yeah. It's the same principle, yeah.
I was gonna say, if someone threw up, kind of needs
yeah, so again, if it's a one-time thing, a person got sick, they threw up, okay, so then you put in a bag, put it outside, I don't know, whatever, but I wouldn't wash it. Again, if it's something where they're in a constant state of spoiling them, that things are getting dirty, then that would still be considered laundering. Yeah.
What about clothing that touches your body? I mean,
So also laundering is still be problematic. Yeah.
so no underwear, no anything.
Correct. None of that should be that. So correct. You cannot launder anything at all. Correct. Good. Yes? Okay. Okay. If a person doesn't have any clean clothing for Shabbos, you are allowed to wash clothing on Thursday or Friday, so you have clean clothing for Shabbos. Spot cleaning is permitted. Okay, so if you have a little stain, you put some water on it, seltzer, whatever it is, that's okay. Okay, so wearing freshly laundered clothing, and this is true for a state of mourning. When a person's in a state of mourning, you're also not allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing. Again, it's a reflection of the fact that a person feels terrible. You don't feel fresh. You don't feel good. So during the time of the 9 days, a person is not allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing. Here, there is a distinction made between undergarments and outer garments. Undergarments, just during a period of mourning, a person is allowed to wear freshly laundered undergarments, and that could be worn during the 9 days. Again, I want to be clear. You cannot launder undergarments during the 9 days, but you are allowed to wear freshly laundered undergarments during the 9 days. In terms of wearing freshly laundered clothing, what a person should do is either make sure, so a person's not supposed to wear freshly laundered clothing during the 9 days. So you have a couple of different options. Ideally, you want the clothing to have been worn once, and then, I don't know, wear a suit. It's a little easier with a suit. People wash suits a little less frequently than you wash your skirts and shirts or whatever it is. But basically, I wore it on, today. And so if I wore the suit today, I could go ahead and wear it again during the 9 days because it's no longer freshly laundered. It didn't come out of the dry cleaners or the wash because I wore it once already. The same if I wore the shirt today and then I could wear it again during the 9 days. Now, that's not always so practical because a person wears it for the entire day. And again, they live in Baltimore and then it's sweated through. It's just gross. So what you could do is, what people do is they'll wear it for a period of time beforehand. So there's some discussion about how long to wear it beforehand. Okay, in many camps they'll give a day activity, 2-hour activity before the 9 days. Okay, everyone go to your bunk and put on all your clothing, and everyone walks around looking like football players because they put on shirt on shirt on shirt on shirt on shirt, and they walk around. Yeah, you've been there. So how long do you have to do this? Some say a half hour, some say 15 minutes, some say even for a moment. But really you should try, if you know you're going to be wearing this clothing during the 9 days, then you should go ahead and wear this clothing before the 9 days, even for a few moments, right? And that way it's no longer seen as freshly laundered and therefore be okay, right? So you put on your skirts, your dresses, whatever it is, for a few moments before the 9 days begins, yeah? If you didn't do so, and there is what's relied upon to do this as well, you could just take the skirt, take the shirt, whatever it is, put it on the floor for a moment, step on it for a moment, and then that is enough as it's no longer freshly laundered and you could wear it. Okay, so some people just do that across the board. They don't pre-wear their clothing and they just do this. Ideally, I would recommend putting on your clothing beforehand. If you didn't do that, if you don't do that, then you certainly should, before you put your skirt, your shirt, whatever it is on, put it on the floor, step on it. Don't have to put it in mud. Your floor, I'm talking like a filthy floor. I'm talking about your floor, cleanish floor, but whatever, it's a little dusty, whatever it might be, put it on the floor, you step on it, it's no longer fresh, and then you can put it on. Yes?
A gift, if you want to give someone a gift during the 3 weeks.
3 weeks is fine. During the 9 days, you wouldn't give a gift, yeah. Okay, so one important caveat to this whole thing, and that is on Shabbos, you are allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing. So there are clever people who would say, hey, well, since on Shabbos I can wear freshly laundered clothing, and since Shabbos is so really, really, really long, so I have a great activity. On Shabbos afternoon, I'm going to go ahead and put on, Friday afternoon is crazy, right? This year, Friday is Erev Rosh Chodesh Av. That's for the 9 days. So I'm not going to get around to putting on new clothing, my freshly laundered clothing on Friday, because Friday's crazy. But Shabbos, I have hours and hours on end. Great activity. Let's put on clothing so that I can wear it during the 9 days. Why can't I do that? It's achana. It's preparing for the week, and therefore you can't do so, right? So it's not actually, it doesn't actually work. For those of us who wear some overlapping clothing on Shabbos as well as during the week, it theoretically could work. In other words, this shirt, for me, I don't know, wear the same shirt on a Shabbos as I do on a Sunday. So if I wore the shirt on a Friday night, I can't put it on deliberately so that I'm wearing a different shirt. I'm preparing for the weekday, but in theory, if I'm wearing a suit on Shabbos, I could wear that same suit during the week. But again, to go ahead and deliberately do that would be problematic. Okay. Fine. So let's talk about purchasing things. Okay, when a person cannot buy, so again, during the 3 weeks, we're not allowed to buy things of great significance. Regular shopping, regular purchasing is fine. During the 9 days, any article of clothing cannot be purchased. You're not allowed to buy any article of clothing. So it's worth taking some time now over the next 2 weeks and making sure you have enough clothing during the 9 days. And another thing which people always forget, not only clothing, you want to make sure you have a pair of non-leather shoes for Tisha B'Av, because very often on like the day before Tisha B'Av, someone's like, oh my gosh, I don't have leather shoes. I need to go buy a pair of shoes. It's really problematic because you are going ahead and buying some. You're on the one hand, you're doing the right thing for Tisha B'Av, but you've just done the wrong thing for the 9 days. So take a minute now, today, and make sure you have enough pairs of clothing for all the 9 days. You don't have to do any laundry, and make sure that you have shoes for Tisha B'Av. Okay, as I mentioned, if there's a major sale over the 9 days and the sale will be over after the 9 days, then it is permitted to shop during that time. And yes, some Jewish stores will do that to make sure that they still have business during the time, right? So they want to make sure. So again, lots of these Jewish stores will have big sales during the 9 days because otherwise their Jewish clientele should not be shopping there. So they'll make a sale, that will be their sale season, and that will allow them to sell, that will allow people to buy things during that time.
But isn't it like pretty like for us to buy?
No, if it's a sale, you don't have to lose money over it. If it's a sale and something you're going to buy, it's not b'diavad. It's permitted. You could go, if you know there's a sale, it's 100% mutter. You don't have to feel bad about it. You might feel bad about spending that money, but what's it called? But in terms of...
I feel like the stores are putting people in a position where they're doing something that...
No. If it's a sale, if it's something which is truly going to go, look, if the store makes a calculation that we need to make sales 5 times a year for business, right? Which is, I don't know, then they can choose to do it this time, and that's 100% fine. Yeah, 100% fine. Okay, you cannot make new clothing either. Okay, sewing, weaving, knitting, all those things are forbidden. So a person who likes to knit for pleasure, that actually cannot be done during the 9 days. I know, not so great. I know some knitters in this room, but that cannot be done. If a person is sewing something up which tore, that is okay. So a button fell off, a tear in an outfit, you are allowed to go ahead and... do so. Let's just talk about one last thing, and that is meat and wine during the 9 days. Okay, so why do we not have meat and wine? So again, a mourner also doesn't have meat and wine, at least on the day that a loved one passed away. But over here, there's a second reason why we don't have meat and wine, and that is that one of the things that stopped during this time is the meat offerings, meaning the karbanos, as well as the wine libations, the nisachim, and therefore, to commemorate the loss of the Beis Hamikdash, we abstain from meat and wine during the week. Okay, you are allowed to use meat utensils during the 9 days, but you cannot eat food that was cooked with meat. Okay, so this comes up this year. The first day of the 9 days is Shabbos, right? So Motzei Shabbos, what do people like doing? Or Sunday, eating, well, not my kids, but what do adults who don't want to waste money do? Eat leftovers, that's what you do, right? Now the problem is, to eat your leftover chicken or meat, you certainly can do. What about the potatoes and the barley that was mixed into your children? The answer is no, it cannot be done because it still has the flavor of the meat, and therefore that cannot be done. That said, if you cooked something in a meat dish that you are allowed to eat during the 9 days, that is not problematic. But it's something that was cooked together with meat. Not only is the meat forbidden, but you are allowed to... But if it was made together, then you cannot do so. You are allowed to eat meat for health reasons. So some people, based on their diet, they must be eating meat for the protein, whatever it is. And meat is the thing that they need to have. You're allowed to do so. Ideally, you should have poultry and not meat during that time. And meat and wine is allowed on Shabbos. They are allowed on Shabbos. Okay, and in terms of wine, it's wine and grape juice which are forbidden. Other alcoholic beverages are permitted. Cooking wine is allowed to be used. If you use cooking wine, you're allowed to use it as long as there's not an overly distinct taste of wine in the food. Okay, we're going to talk about Havdalah after Shabbos. We'll get to, God willing, next week. We'll stop over here. Any questions based on anything I said? We're going to pick up next week and conclude some of the laws of the 9 days, since we still have some time, as well as the laws of Tisha B'Av, God willing, next week. Yes? What about traveling? Yeah, so ideally we don't travel so during the 3 weeks you're allowed to travel, no problem. During the 9 days we don't travel for pleasure. Okay, so for pleasure means for pleasure. If a person's traveling for business, there's no problem. A person went somewhere and they need to get back home during the 9 days, you're also allowed to do so. If you're doing so just for a vacation, that can't be done. If you're doing so to go, be somewhere, to something, whether it's for business or to help someone, whatever it might be, all those things would be allowed during the 9 days. It's just for pleasure that's not allowed. Yes?
For laundering, also, what about like towels and linens?
So towels and linens also should be avoided during the 9 days.
Right, but if you you don't have.
If you don't have any and you can't get before, then you'd be permitted to launder something like linen, ideally not, but towels, something which is meaning something which is understood to be washed on a regular basis. So linen, I would try to wash them right before 9 days, keep them for the 9 days, unless they get soiled or whatever it is. But towels, something like that, there would be you would be allowed to wash. Okay, we'll pick up.
You can't have chicken leftovers.
No chicken either. Chicken or meats during the 9 days cannot be eaten.
Okay. So, I guess you just freeze your leftovers from Shabbos.
Or have a big shalosh shodas. Yeah. Or have whatever. Yeah. Okay. Have a great day. Have a great